Beneath the city lights, shadows linger. Secrets buried deep, waiting to be uncovered. Welcome to City Shadows Unsolved, where darkness speaks and silence tells its story. Tonight, we journey into the mind of a killer who haunted a nation, a name whispered in fear for decades. Who was the Zodiac Killer? The hunt for America's most elusive murderer begins now. This is City Shadows Unsolved. This is today's episode. It is a cold winter evening in Northern California. The year is 1968, and the world outside the quiet town of Benicia is moving at its usual steady pace. Families settling in for the night, streets dimly lit by street lamps, and the occasional car passing through the empty roads. But this night will be different. This night will shatter the fragile peace and mark the beginning of a nightmare that would haunt the region for decades to come. David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen are young, full of promise, and oblivious to the terror that lies ahead. They had driven out to Lake Herman Road, a remote stretch popular with teenagers for late-night dates. Under the dim glow of the headlights, the couple settles in, wrapped in the kind of youthful comfort that feels safe in the presence of one another. The night air carries the crispness of December, the silence only broken by the faint sounds of nature and distant cars. But as the clock strikes 11:14 p.m., the stillness is broken. Another car approaches and slows, its headlights cutting through the darkness like knives. David and Betty Lou are unaware of the figure that steps out of the vehicle. A shadow moves with purpose toward the unsuspecting couple. The world seems to hold its breath. Shots ring out, piercing the night air. One fatal bullet strikes David Faraday in the head, the impact sudden and devastating. Betty Lou, startled and frightened, attempts to flee, but 5 more bullets catch her before she can escape. The young couple's date turns into a brutal massacre in a matter of moments. The killer disappears as silently as he arrived, leaving behind a scene drenched in confusion and grief. Neighbors and friends wake the next morning to the horrifying news. 2 teenagers, their lives cut short in a senseless act of violence. The local police begin their investigation, combing the scene for clues, but the darkness leaves few. There are no eyewitnesses, no apparent motive. The case feels cold, a puzzle with missing pieces. Yet even in the early days, something sets this apart from ordinary crimes. A strange symbol is found nearby, a circle with a cross through it, an emblem unknown to investigators but destined to become a chilling signature. And as word spreads, so does fear. Parents warn their children. Couples hesitate to park in secluded spots. The sense of safety that had blanketed the community begins to unravel. In the days that follow, rumors circulate of other incidents. Strange phone calls, shadowy figures lurking near quiet roads. The idea takes hold. This was not a random act, but the start of a calculated campaign. Unbeknownst to the public, investigators begin to suspect the killer is watching, waiting, perhaps even planning the next move. Behind the scenes, law enforcement wrestles with the realization that this case will be unlike any other they have faced. The brutality, the mystery, the audacity, these elements suggest a mind twisted beyond comprehension. The killings on Lake Herman Road mark the opening chapter in what would become one of America's most notorious serial killer cases. The name Zodiac does not yet exist, but the shadow it casts has begun to stretch. The young victims, David and Betty Lou, become the first in a grim series of lives touched by terror. Their story, their loss, will not be forgotten, even as the hunt for their killer grows colder with time. This night in December is the moment when an invisible darkness slipped quietly into Northern California, a darkness that would haunt the region for years, defying capture and explanation. The summer of 1969 in Northern California brings long days and warm nights, yet beneath the surface of celebration, fear begins to tighten its grip. The echoes of fireworks crackle in the distance, as families and friends gather for Independence Day festivities. But for 2 young people at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, the evening will take a devastating turn. One that will deepen the growing shadow cast by a killer no one can yet name. Darlene Farron, 22 years old, and Michael Mageau, 19, sit parked in Darlene's car near the quiet brush and trees. The night is alive with crickets and the soft hum of the distant city. They speak softly, sharing moments of young love, unaware that an unknown presence is watching them from the darkened road nearby. Suddenly the stillness breaks. A car pulls up behind them, its headlights piercing the gloom. The driver steps out. The killer has returned. Michael Mageau's memory of that night would later become vital, a rare glimpse into the mind of the attacker. He remembers the figure emerging from the shadows, a flashlight beam sweeping across the car before a weapon is drawn. Shots ring out, echoing through the trees and breaking the silence with terrifying violence. Michael feels the searing pain of bullets tearing through his body. His world blurs as he collapses, blood staining the interior of the car. But in a cruel twist of fate, he survives. Darlene Ferrin, seated beside him, does not. She is found dead at the scene. Less than an hour later, the Vallejo Police Department receives a phone call. The voice on the other end is calm, chillingly composed. The man claims responsibility for the two attacks, both the recent one and the murders on Lake Herman Road months earlier. "I want you to know about me," the voice says, "because I like killing people because it's so much fun." The caller reveals details about the attacks that had not been made public, details only the killer could know. He introduces himself by a name no one has heard before. A name that will terrorize the Bay Area and captivate the nation: Zodiac. This phone call marks the first time the killer directly reaches out to the authorities, taunting them with confidence and cruelty. The community is gripped by terror. How could someone commit such violence and then openly brag about it? How could a killer walk freely among them, knowing the fear he instills? Investigators scramble to process the new information. The surviving victim's account, combined with the phone call, provides the first clues, but the Zodiac remains elusive. Witnesses describe a man of average height and build, but no clear identification emerges. The Zodiac signature symbol, the crossed circle, begins to appear, etched into crime scenes and letters, a chilling calling card. Police issue warnings. Residents are urged to stay vigilant, especially young couples who might find themselves alone in quiet spots. The sense of paranoia spreads. At the same time, the killer's brazen communication creates a media frenzy. Newspapers publish his letters and ciphers, attempting to engage the public in decoding his messages, hoping to uncover his identity. But every clue seems designed to mislead. The cryptic puzzles baffle experts and amateurs alike. Behind the scenes, the Zodiac's game is clear: control the narrative, feed the fear, and revel in the chaos. For Michael Mageau, surviving the attack means reliving the horror day after day, answering questions and helping police search for a man who remains just out of reach. For the community, it is a time of uncertainty and dread. Every shadow could conceal the Zodiac. Every quiet road could become a scene of violence. As summer fades into autumn, the killer's taunts grow louder and the hunt intensifies. The attack at Blue Rock Springs is not just another crime. It is a chilling escalation, a message that the Zodiac is watching, calculating, and far from finished. But while the public fears what they see behind the scenes, investigators begin to grasp the complexity of the case. Just weeks after the brutal attack at Blue Rock Springs, the Zodiac Killer shifts from physical violence to psychological warfare. The fear gripping Northern California begins to deepen, but now it takes on a new form, one that twists and tortures the public through cryptic messages, puzzles, and chilling threats sent directly to the press. In July 1969, three Bay Area newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald, each receive a nearly identical letter. The hand-printed notes are unnerving in their calmness and precision. They demand that the papers publish the messages on the front page. The threat is explicit: failure to comply will result in more murders, more terror. Inside each envelope lies something no one had seen before: a strange symbol, a circle with a cross through it, and a cipher, a code made up of 408 characters. The Zodiac claims that this cipher contains his true identity. The challenge is issued, taunting anyone brave enough to try and decode it. Cryptographers, hobbyists, and law enforcement dive into the puzzle, working feverishly to uncover the meaning. A schoolteacher and his wife in Salinas, California, become the first to crack the cipher. The message, however, offers no reprieve or clarity. Instead of revealing a name, It spells out the killer's twisted philosophy. The Zodiac writes that killing gives him the most thrilling experience, describing himself as not afraid of the gas chamber, because it will be a pleasant death. He boasts of collecting slaves for the afterlife, a morbid reference that hints at a dark obsession with control over life and death. The public is stunned. The killer, hiding behind a veil of cryptic messages and cryptograms, transforms into a character that fascinates and terrifies. His letters become a media sensation, and the police face the impossible task of hunting a killer who talks in riddles. As the letters continue, so does the Zodiac's cruelty. He sends more ciphers, some solved, some not, each containing threats, confessions, or taunts. Each letter serves a dual purpose: to inform the public of his crimes and to mock the authorities' inability to catch him. The name Zodiac becomes synonymous with fear and mystery. The killer's symbol appears like a brand at crime scenes and in letters, reinforcing his twisted identity. The community watches, unsettled, as the Zodiac shapes his legend with every word he sends. Despite the mounting evidence and relentless public pressure, the killer remains free, a ghost slipping through the cracks of law enforcement and society. Behind the scenes, detectives and FBI agents scramble to connect the letters to suspects, analyzing handwriting, linguistic patterns, and the ciphers themselves. But the Zodiac's cryptic messages only deepen the enigma. Each letter, each cipher, is more than just a taunt. It is a calculated weapon, psychological warfare designed to spread fear, confusion, and uncertainty. The Zodiac's mastery of control and misdirection takes root. His voice echoes through the newspapers and radio waves, turning him into a household name and a subject of obsession. In the months that follow, the killer's communications will escalate, revealing a darkness far more disturbing than the murders themselves. A mind consumed with power, cruelty, and the thrill of the hunt. The Bay Area's residents face a new reality. It is no longer just about avoiding danger in the night. It is about living under the shadow of a killer who plays a deadly game, using words and symbols as his weapons. By late September 1969, the Bay Area is gripped by a mix of fear and confusion. The Zodiac's crimes have stretched beyond a single community, and his letters continue to torment the public and law enforcement alike. Then, on the afternoon of September 27th, a new horror unfolds at Lake Berryessa, a quiet recreational spot surrounded by rolling hills and shimmering waters. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, a young couple from Napa County, decide to spend the day outdoors, enjoying a break from their everyday lives. The sun is warm, the sky clear. The peaceful environment seems to promise a temporary escape from the growing menace shadowing the region. But the calm is shattered when a man appears, emerging from the trees wearing an unusual disguise. His face is hidden beneath a black executioner-style hood, with clip-on sunglasses masking his eyes. On his chest is stitched the same crosshair symbol that has become the Zodiac's trademark. He tells the couple he is an escaped convict who needs money and a car to flee. The story is a lie designed to lull them into submission. Without warning, he pulls out a knife and forces them to the ground, binding their hands with a methodical precision that reveals chilling planning. The attack is vicious and relentless. Cecilia suffers multiple stab wounds. Brian is also stabbed but survives by playing dead and later providing investigators with a critical eyewitness account. In a final act of cruelty, the killer uses a marker to write a message on the door of the victim's car. Vallejo, December 20th, 68, July 4th, 69, and September 27th, 69, 6:30 by knife. Each line references the dates and locations of his known crimes, linking this attack to his growing legend. Hours later, the Zodiac calls the Napa County Sheriff's Office, calmly directing police to the crime scene. His voice carries the same cold detachment as before, a twisted sense of control evident in every word. The brutality of the Lake Berryessa attack sends shockwaves through the community. The use of the executioner's hood and the carefully crafted message mark a disturbing escalation. The Zodiac is not only killing but constructing a persona designed to terrify and manipulate. Law enforcement intensifies their efforts, conducting interviews and gathering evidence. Brian's testimony provides vital insights into the attacker's appearance and behavior, but the killer remains elusive. Meanwhile, the media seizes on the striking images from the crime scene. The executioner's hood becomes an iconic symbol of the case, a mask hiding the face of a killer who seems almost otherworldly. For the public, the attack confirms the Zodiac's unpredictable and dangerous nature. No place feels safe, no outdoor retreat immune from his reach. Behind the scenes, investigators grapple with the expanding scope of the case. The connections between the attacks at Lake Herman Road, Blue Rock Springs, and Lake Berryessa begin to form a pattern, a calculated and cold-blooded campaign of terror. The Zodiac's taunts and puzzles continue to pour in, each letter reinforcing the myth he builds around himself. Yet despite the attention and resources devoted to the case, the killer's identity remains a secret. The Lake Berryessa attack is a stark reminder that the Zodiac is as much a master of fear as he is of violence. His crimes are not random acts but part of a twisted narrative he controls, one designed to keep the world watching, waiting, and guessing. The hunt for the Zodiac Killer grows more urgent, but with every step forward, the killer seems to vanish further into the shadows. As October arrives in 1969, the Zodiac Killer's reach extends beyond quiet country roads and remote parks. His violence penetrates the heart of San Francisco, turning the bustling city into a stage for his darkest act yet. On the evening of October 11th, Paul Stine, a 29-year-old cab driver, completes his shift and begins a new ride that will end in tragedy. Paul picks up 3 passengers near Union Square, a busy and well-lit area. The trio requests a ride through the city's neighborhoods, a typical fare on an ordinary night. But something goes terribly wrong. Shortly after leaving the crowded streets, a shot echoes through the cab's interior. Paul is struck in the head, falling lifeless in his seat. The killer calmly exits the vehicle, wiping the driver's side door with a handkerchief, evidence of a calculated attempt to erase his presence. Witnesses nearby catch a glimpse of a man walking away from the scene, appearing ordinary and composed. The brazen nature of the murder, in a crowded city in broad daylight, shocks the community. Police quickly respond, sealing off the area and beginning an exhaustive investigation. The cab is examined for clues, but the killer's efforts to cover his tracks leave few leads. 2 days later, the Zodiac Killer escalates his taunts. He sends a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle, including a piece of Paul Stine's blood-stained shirt as proof of his guilt. The message mocks the police, daring them to capture him. "This is the Zodiac speaking," the letter begins. "I am the murderer of the taxi driver last night. To prove I am not lying, I am going to send you a piece of his shirt." The killer's audacity rattles the city. For the first time, the Zodiac is not just a faceless threat lurking in the shadows. He is here, in their streets, laughing at their efforts to stop him. Law enforcement intensifies patrols and appeals to the public for information. Composite sketches are released, based on witness descriptions, but the killer remains out of reach. The murder of Paul Stine marks a turning point. The Zodiac has shown he is willing to kill in public, with witnesses present, and to taunt authorities with disturbing confidence. Communities brace themselves, unsure where or when the next attack might come. The streets, once bustling with life and safety, now carry an air of unease. Behind the scenes, police face pressure from media and citizens alike, desperate for answers. Yet the killer's identity remains cloaked in mystery. The Zodiac's game continues, a deadly dance between hunter and hunted. His letters, filled with ciphers and cryptic threats, grow more elaborate and chilling. Despite advances in forensic science and tireless detective work, the case remains unsolved. Paul Stine's murder becomes a grim reminder that the Zodiac's reach knows no boundaries, geographic, social, or moral. As the city grapples with the horror, the killer retreats once again into darkness, leaving a trail of fear that will last for decades. As the year 1969 fades into 1970, the Zodiac Killer's presence grows larger than ever in the public imagination. The attacks themselves, horrific as they are, become only part of his reign of terror. Behind the scenes, something darker is unfolding. A relentless campaign of psychological warfare designed to sow fear and confusion far beyond the crime scenes. The Zodiac does not limit himself to murder. Instead, he floods newspapers and police departments with a steady stream of letters that blend confession, threat, and twisted bravado. He promises new killings, bombings, even attacks on children. Every word is calculated to strike terror into the hearts of readers. Communities across Northern California brace for his next move, unsure where or when it might come. Schools increase security. Parents keep their children closer. The simplest act of going out after dark becomes a gamble. The media, caught in the eye of the storm, fuels the frenzy. Newspapers print the Zodiac's letters in full, hoping to uncover clues or elicit public tips. Each published cipher is met with a flood of attempted solutions, but the Zodiac's codes remain maddeningly elusive. One of his most infamous letters, sent in 1970, threatens to pick off school kids as they come bouncing out. The letter ends with the phrase, "See you in the school sometime, Zodiac." Fear becomes a constant companion. Every rustle in the dark, every stranger's glance is suspect. The Zodiac's voice, heard only through ink and paper, has become a specter haunting the minds of millions. Law enforcement feels the weight of expectation. They are pushed to solve the mystery quickly, yet the case resists closure. Every lead seems to vanish. Every suspect slips away. Within police ranks, frustration mounts. Some officers believe the Zodiac is closer than anyone suspects. Others wonder if he is still at large, watching from the shadows. Amid the chaos, ordinary citizens take action. Neighborhood watches form. Tips pour in. Some lead nowhere, others spark false hopes. The Zodiac's grip tightens. Behind the bravado, the killer remains unseen, his true motives hidden beneath layers of deception. His letters reveal a mind fascinated with power, the control that fear grants him over an entire region. The Zodiac's taunts grow ever more brazen. He mocks investigators, belittles the media, and revels in the confusion he creates. The public's obsession deepens. The killer becomes a twisted folk legend, a man who challenges society and survives by his wits and cruelty. But beneath the headlines and hysteria, a sobering truth persists. A dangerous, calculating murderer remains free. As the Zodiac case grows colder with time, investigators turn their focus toward a man who would become the prime suspect for years: Arthur Lee Allen. A former elementary school teacher living in Vallejo, Allen's connection to the case is marked by a combination of circumstantial evidence, disturbing behavior, and his own troubling past. Allen first comes under scrutiny after an anonymous tip. He matches several descriptions given by eyewitnesses: average height, stocky build, often wearing a Zodiac symbol watch. His fascination with the killer's letters and cryptograms raises red flags. During questioning, Allen exhibits erratic behavior. He denies involvement but reportedly makes unsettling comments, including boasting about killing people, remarks dismissed at the time but now taken with new weight. Despite the growing suspicion, physical evidence tying Allen to the crimes remains elusive. His handwriting samples show some similarities to the Zodiac's letters, but not conclusively. Fingerprint and DNA tests yield inconclusive results, leaving gaps in the case. Allen's past reveals troubling details. He was a convicted sex offender and had a history of inappropriate conduct, which adds to the concern but doesn't provide definitive proof. Over the years, the Vallejo police and the FBI build a profile of Allen, but every attempt to link him conclusively to the Zodiac murders falls short. No arrest is made. Public interest in Allen swells. True crime enthusiasts, journalists, and amateur sleuths dissect his life, attempting to connect the dots. Allen dies in 1992 from a heart attack, his guilt or innocence never legally determined. The question of whether he was the Zodiac Killer remains one of the most debated aspects of the case. Some investigators maintain Allen was the most viable suspect, while others argue the evidence is circumstantial, pointing to the possibility of multiple perpetrators or a different killer entirely. The mystery deepens. Was Arthur Lee Allen the man behind the mask, or merely a man caught in a web of suspicion and coincidence? His story underscores the frustration and complexity of the Zodiac case, a case defined by clues that tease but never fully reveal, suspects who come and go, and a killer who remains a ghost. As decades pass, The legend of Arthur Lee Allen and his possible connection to the Zodiac endures, a shadowy figure in a case that continues to haunt law enforcement and the public alike. Among the Zodiac Killer's many chilling legacies, his cryptic ciphers stand as some of the most baffling puzzles in criminal history. Across his letters, the Zodiac includes 4 distinct ciphers, complex jumbles of symbols, letters, and numbers. 2 have been solved, revealing dark and cryptic messages, but 2 remain a mystery, frustrating both professional cryptographers and amateur code breakers alike. The first cipher, sent in July 1969, was cracked quickly by a couple from Salinas, California. Its chilling message spoke of killing for pleasure and a defiant dismissal of punishment. Yet it revealed no clues about the killer's identity. Instead, it served to deepen the Zodiac's psychological hold over the public. The second cipher, sent months later, remains unsolved to this day, resisting every attempt at decoding. Its contents, what the killer intended to reveal, remain locked behind a veil of symbols. Speculation runs rampant. Does it contain his name, details of more murders, or some twisted manifesto? In 2020, a third cipher was finally cracked by a team of private citizens and cryptologists using modern technology and collective effort. This cipher spoke cryptically about death, eternal life, and his disdain for society's rules. Yet, like the first, it stopped short of revealing any definitive identity. The 2 remaining ciphers, however, have defied every effort to decode them. Experts have poured time and expertise into breaking the code, but the Zodiac's encryption methods are cunningly layered, designed to frustrate and mislead. These unsolved puzzles have become a source of fascination and obsession worldwide, spawning forums, research groups, and documentaries dedicated to cracking the code. The Zodiac's cryptograms are more than just puzzles. They are keys to understanding his mind, motivations, and perhaps his identity. They offer a tantalizing glimpse into his twisted psyche but guard their secrets fiercely. To this day, these ciphers symbolize the elusive nature of the Zodiac Killer. The killer's true self remains hidden, locked behind the tangled web of symbols and threats. Each new attempt to solve these ciphers rekindles hope and fear alike, that the killer's secrets might finally be revealed, or that the darkness surrounding this case will deepen even further. The Zodiac Killer's reign of terror leaves a lasting mark on the Bay Area, a scar not easily healed. The victims' families live with grief and unanswered questions, their lives forever altered by violence that seemed both random and calculated. Survivors bear wounds that go far beyond the physical, carrying trauma that time struggles to soothe. Communities, once vibrant and secure, shrink under the weight of fear. Young couples think twice before seeking solitude. Parents warn their children about strangers and the dangers lurking in shadows. The ordinary routines of life become fractured by the knowledge that a killer moved freely among them. Law enforcement agencies, local, state, and federal, face criticism and frustration. The Zodiac case exposes gaps in communication and forensic technology, challenges that complicate investigations then and now. But it also spurs advancements. Over time, the techniques developed and lessons learned shape the future of criminal profiling and forensic science. Public fascination with the case grows beyond the Bay Area. Documentaries, books, and films explore the mystery, each interpretation adding to the legend. The Zodiac becomes a symbol of fear, of enigma, of the darkest corners of human nature. Yet, despite decades of scrutiny, the case remains officially unsolved. No arrest has been made, no conviction secured. The killer's identity is lost to time, a ghost that haunts law enforcement files and the imaginations of millions. For many, the Zodiac represents more than a criminal. He is a reminder of the fragile line between order and chaos, safety and terror. His story challenges the notion of justice and the limits of human understanding. And so, the Bay Area and the world continue to watch, listen, and wait for any sign, any clue, any crack in the darkness. The Zodiac Killer's shadow lingers, a chilling presence woven into the fabric of true crime history. Decades have passed since the Zodiac Killer's last confirmed communication, yet the case remains open in multiple jurisdictions, a haunting reminder that some shadows refuse to fade. The killer's true identity, motives, and fate continue to elude investigators, fueling speculation and fascination. In recent years, advances in DNA analysis and forensic technology have breathed new life into cold cases worldwide, including the Zodiac investigation. Samples collected from letters, crime scenes, and other evidence have been re-examined, yet no definitive breakthrough has been publicly confirmed. The hope lingers that someday science might unlock the secrets long concealed. The Zodiac Killer's story is more than a chronicle of violence. It is a complex tapestry woven with fear, cunning, and mystery. His cryptic ciphers, chilling letters, and calculated attacks capture a macabre blend of intellect and cruelty that continues to captivate. True crime enthusiasts, historians, and armchair detectives pore over every detail, every letter, every symbol, trying to solve a puzzle that defies closure. The Zodiac has become an enduring symbol of evil lurking beneath the surface of everyday life, a reminder that some monsters can walk unnoticed among us. For the families of victims, the lack of resolution remains a profound wound. Justice feels incomplete, answers out of reach. Yet their stories and memories ensure that the victims are never forgotten. Law enforcement continues to hold the case open, driven by duty and the hope that new evidence or new technology may one day reveal the truth. The Zodiac Killer, long thought to be a shadow of the past, still casts a long dark shadow over the pursuit of justice. In the end, the Zodiac Killer's legacy is a chilling testament to the power of fear and the human drive for understanding. It is a story that warns, fascinates, and haunts, a dark chapter in American history that continues to defy the final page. As the decades turn, one truth remains clear. Some mysteries remain, waiting silently for the day they might finally be solved. The Zodiac Killer's story is a chilling reminder that evil can hide in plain sight, and sometimes the darkest truths remain locked away, in codes, in silence, and in the shadows of history. The hunt for answers continues, and until the truth emerges, the Zodiac's shadow will never fully lift. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Have you ever wondered about the Zodiac's true identity? What do you think really happened? Join the conversation on the comments section and help keep the search alive.